So, you've got a fantastic idea for a product. It's brilliant. But there's this huge gap between that idea in your head and a real physical product in your customer's hands. Today, we're going to close that gap.
Right? This is the big question. How do you actually get it made? This is where you run into this alphabet soup of manufacturing terms: OEM, ODM, and OBM. And understanding them is absolutely critical. Because, getting something made today is way more than just finding a factory. It's a total maze. You're dealing with new sustainability rules, crazy complex chemical regulations, and all the risks in the supply chain. The path you choose, OEM or ODM, will affect every single one of those things. So, here's how we're going to navigate this maze. First, we'll look at the path of control, which is OEM. Then we'll explore the path of speed, ODM. We'll also touch on a real game changer, OBM. Then we're going to put them all head-to-head so you can see the differences clearly, and finally, help you make the right strategic choice for your brand. Let's jump in. Okay, first up, let's put on our brand strategist hat. This is the part of you that obsesses over every single detail, where every curve and texture is part of your brand's DNA. This is the world of OEM. OEM stands for Original Equipment Manufacturer, and it really is as simple as it sounds. It's your design, you own it. The manufacturer's job is to build it exactly to your specifications. You are in complete control. Think of any product with an iconic shape. They didn't just pick that out of a catalog. No way. They designed it, and they hired a factory to be the hands that build their vision.
And you can see that control right here in the workflow. This is not a set-it-and-forget-it deal. You are involved deeply at every single stage. From making sure your design can actually be manufactured at scale, to developing and paying for the custom tooling, to iterating on samples, you're in the trenches with your supplier right up until you sign off on mass production. So, you might be asking, why go through all that hassle? Well, the payoff is huge. You get maximum differentiation. Your product looks like nothing else on the market. The intellectual property? It's yours, period. And once you lock in the process, it's perfectly repeatable. This is, without a doubt, the path you take for a hero product that defines your entire brand.
But, and this is a big but, there is a trade-off. All that control and uniqueness comes at a price. We're talking a much higher upfront cost, especially for that custom tooling, which can easily cost tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars. And it takes a lot longer to get to market. You get total control, but you absolutely pay for it with time and money.
Now, let's completely flip the script. Let's take off that brand strategist hat and put on our launch pragmatist hat. For this person, the number one priority isn't creating an icon from scratch, it's about getting a great product to market and getting it there fast. This is the world of ODM.
ODM means Original Design Manufacturer. And here the whole dynamic is reversed. The supplier comes to you with a portfolio of products they've already designed and engineered. Think of it like a car chassis. They've already built a proven, reliable foundation. Your job is to customize it, pick the color, the finish, the accessories, and make it feel like your brand. And you can see the focus on speed right in the workflow. You're not starting with a blank sheet of paper, you're starting with proven options. The real work is in the customization. This is where things like decoration trials become so important. You're testing different finishes, colors, and branding to create a unique look and feel on top of that existing platform. The advantages here are basically the solution to all of OEM's problems. Speed to market is the number one benefit. You can literally launch in a fraction of the time. The risk is way lower because you're using a design that's already been tested and proven. This makes it perfect for things like a seasonal product line, or for just testing a new idea in the market without betting the farm. But, you guessed it, there's a trade-off. And this is where the brand strategist in you starts to get a little nervous. You sacrifice true, deep uniqueness. Another brand could technically use the same base product as you, and the intellectual property gets, well, complicated. The supplier owns the core design, you own your branding, and you need really clear contracts to figure out who owns what in the middle. Okay, so we've had the debate between control and speed. Now we need to talk about a totally different animal in this jungle, the OBM, or Original Brand Manufacturer. This isn't just another option. It's a completely different market dynamic you need to be aware of. So what is an OBM? Basically, it's a manufacturer that decided to become a brand themselves. They got so good at designing and making products for other people that they just said, hey, why don't we do this for ourselves? They design, manufacture, market, and sell their own products under their own brand name.
And here is the absolutely crucial point you have to understand.
When you're dealing with an OBM, your supplier might also be your direct competitor. They could be selling their own finished products to the very same customers you are trying to reach. That changes everything about how you manage that relationship. All right, so we've met the players and we understand the stakes. Now it's time for the main event. Let's put these three models right next to each other and see how they really stack up in a head-to-head showdown.
This table really makes it clear. Look at that first row. Who drives design? For OEM, it's the brand, 100%. That's the control play. But then glance over at speed to market. ODM is the clear winner. It's fast. Differentiation? OEM wins, hands down. But then we get to IP ownership. OEM is simple, you own it. ODM is complex and shared. And with OBM, the supplier owns it all. It really boils down to that last row. OEM is best for your core hero products. ODM is for getting to market fast.
Okay, seeing it all laid out like that is one thing, but how do you actually make the call? How do you decide which path is right for you? Well, it all comes down to asking yourself a few key questions.
First, you have to be really honest about uniqueness. Is the actual physical shape and feel of your product a core part of your brand? If the answer is an absolute yes, then you're already leaning heavily towards the control of OEM to protect that brand equity.
Second, what's your relationship with time? Do you have a hard deadline, like a holiday launch with a major retailer? What happens if you miss it? If the consequences are severe, then the speed and lower risk of an ODM path suddenly become incredibly attractive.
And finally, a real gut check question. What can your team actually handle? An OEM project requires serious engineering and project management muscle on your side. If you're a small, lean team, partnering with a great ODM supplier can feel like instantly adding an entire development department.
But here's the pro move. The smartest brands realize this isn't an either-or choice. They don't just pick one path. They develop a hybrid strategy. They invest the big time and money into an OEM process for their main hero product. But for accessories or seasonal launches, they use the speed of ODM. It's truly the best of both worlds.
And that really brings us to the most important takeaway. It's easy to get lost in these acronyms. But this isn't about picking a label, it's about making a conscious choice about your business. Ultimately, choosing between OEM, ODM, and OBM is a strategy decision, not a label. Are you playing for control, or are you playing for speed? Answering that question is how you'll find the right path to bring your product to life.